Elephant Man Podcast Network, grown man conversations dealing with elephants in the room. It's your man DB. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you can know when more content is coming your way. Blessings to you, family. Subscribe, like, share, get it out, get the word out, connect with us on all social media platforms. Elephant Man _ podcast, Facebook / Elephant Man Podcast, and of course, YouTube. I use Twitter sometimes. All right. So yeah, man. Crazy. The whole Omicron outbreak from Africa. And it's a lot of different roads leading to it. It's a lot of different information that's out there. So we don't want to jump the gun. The jump conclusion is fairly new. But, you know, I know these guys, they'll be like, okay, get ready for this, get ready for that. And I told you, it's going to be multiple jabs. There's no way you can get everything in one jab. It's going to be multiple jabs and booster A and booster B and booster C. It's going to be multiple jabs, okay, in order for this thing to work. Then I want to go about the ethics. We know that in the past we had the Tuskegee project, and we had other things going on in the past. And so I don't know how all of a sudden people get benevolent. People just turn over a new leaf and they change their ways. No, it's the same situation, same plan, same game. And so I just got some few information to share. I'm not jumping to conclusion. I'm not going to do no assumptions. I know I'm going to get a lot of emails about this and that, and people are unsubscribing, and that's okay. Because Elephant Man Podcast Network is grown man conversations dealing with elephants in the room. So I want to share this first video first. This was early in this year. Let's show this small little video first, why the so-called African American is hesitant, and then we're gonna go into some other things that I have found out and I discovered. It's pretty interesting. But here we go. Let's go right into this.
Getting easier to access for East Texans, but despite that better access, not everyone wants one. KETK's Frank Jefferson tells us why some people are still hesitant.
Anytime the government has introduced something that was scientific and was supposed to be backed by facts, it has negatively impacted the minority community.
While some people don't trust the system in place to get a shot, others want to know more about it.
Yes, I would be interested in taking it, but I need more information.
If you're on the fence, Dr. Chiagoza Wasaruba is here to help. After seeing the severe effects COVID can have on someone, he's urging African Americans to get the vaccine.
It's very severe when you get it. People die from it. And if you don't die from it, it can leave you with long-lasting effects.
A recent survey from Pew Research shows more than half of white Americans want to get a shot, while only 32% of African Americans want to.
After talking to Black people here in the East Texas community, it's not about what happened recently, it's more about what happened in the past. And we're not talking about economic disparity, segregation, or even the criminal justice system. What we're talking about now is the history between African Americans and the medical industry.
From 1932 to 1972, doctors conducted experiments on African American men who suffer from syphilis, injecting more than 600 participants, lying to the men, saying they were receiving free health care and treatment.
I don't want it to be known 40, 50 years down the road that we should not have taken this vaccine.
The doctor hopes people will choose to protect themselves, but he does understand their fears.
You still have to let the person decide what they want to do.
Frank Jefferson, KETK News.
Oh, sorry. So that was one video, and that's the beginning of the year. And we know a lot of things has transpired since January, at the beginning of this year. We're actually on our way into January 2022, And so, it's a lot of hesitancy out there. But not only us, but on the continent as well. It's on the continent of Africa as well. But I want to show you guys a few things, and then you can have you can comment and let me know. But let's go right here to this when it talks about why Africa. It's Time magazine. Why Africa C-19 outbreak isn't so bad. They got to make it. Why? Why is it not so bad over there? Right? I'm going to share this in the chat. Well, I'll share this in the comment section. But it's basically saying like, why isn't it so bad? So they got to say C-19 initially blazed through Asia, Europe, and then through the United States. Global public health experts worried that it could be catastrophic for Africa. With its crowded cities, poorly funded health sector, and lack of testing facilities, the UN Economic Commission for Africa in April predicted up to 300,000 deaths this year. Okay. 300,000 deaths this year if the virus couldn't be contained on the continent. Yet it was the U.S. with the superior health system that hit the grand milestone first, and so far, Africa has been largely spared the worst of the devastation experienced by the rest of the world. As of December 29th, the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of reporting 2.6 million cases and 63 deaths in the population of 1.2 billion. That's roughly one case for every 500 people, compared to 1 for 20 in the U.S. So they like trying to figure it out, like why? How is it only 1 for every 500? You know, and then so they start coming up with a lot of different reasons. As of C-19 related deaths, one may estimate the true impact of the virus is to look at total access to deaths per year, calculated by comparing overall mortality figures of in 2020 to previous annual averages, right? So they got all these different words. Again, I'm gonna read this. You can read this later. Nevertheless, some countries across the continent are currently seeing increases in C-19 cases amid concerns of a second wave. South Africa, they already dropped the name. South Africa has been a sharp increase recently amid evidence that a new variant has been detected, right? And they got new restrictions on Monday, right? So look, now this article came out last year, the beginning of last year, December 2028. That wasn't this year. That's not right now, y'all. This was December of last year, 2028. Oh, look out. For lower numbers, no one solid reason, says Cape Town-based independent clinical etymologist Dr. Nandi Siegfried. Okay, preparation. Okay, they're saying many African countries have poor medical infrastructures, but they also have long-standing experience with infectious diseases, which the WHO declared C-19 a public health emergency on international concerns at the end of January. Doctors and public health officials in countries that already had experience with outbreak and other infectious diseases sprang into action. We had to learn the hard way, Liberian public health expert Dr. Fala told Time in March, referring to the Ghanaian, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, the three West African countries that bore the brunt of the Ebola epidemic, right? So they trying to figure out how did they escape it. So you can go on and you can read this a little bit more and more. Now remember, I told you this article was December the 8th of last year, 2020, right? That's not right now. We going into December. So they was talking about South Africa and shutting down the country, and they trying to figure out, okay, we got all of this technology over here. We 1 in 20. They 1 in 500. And it says only 1% are inoculated in Africa, the continent, as of May 23rd, 2021. It was only 1%, right? It's 1% of 1.3 billion. 1% of 1.3 billion. If somebody want to do that math real quick, you can. Got inoculated. Okay? But this is one thing that's really tripped out. It was $1 billion. If they got, they wanted to get over 100 billion doses to Africa soon, right? Remember when the first outbreak came, they wanted to go test in Africa to see if it worked or not, right? It's like, but this is what really tripped them out. Check this out. I'm gonna share this real quick. I thought this was interesting to say the least. Let me see, can I get it? The vax, the jab. I keep saying the vax. Okay, check this out. This is very interesting. They had some old vax jabs and they burned them. It's crazy. In Malawi. Check this out.
COVID-19 vaccine to poorer nations this year and another billion next year. At a G20 summit in Rome on Friday, European countries made their own pledges to donate a combined 100 billion doses by the end of the year. Some of those will go to African countries through the COVAX initiative. Now, these commitments come as global health authorities warned that the world is at a crisis point with the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. Rich countries have significant access to the vaccines and developing countries are struggling to catch up. Now, in the meantime, the vaccine rollout remains sluggish on the continent where there is not enough supply. So when the Southern African nation of Malawi burned nearly 20,000 doses of vaccines this week, it raised a lot of questions, especially because the government's decision to burn the vaccines went against advice from the WHO and the Africa CDC. Both organizations advised Malawi not to destroy COVID-19 vaccines, saying even though they had passed their expiration dates, they were still safe to use. Now, our first report is from the Malawian capital, Lilongwe, where the burning of the vaccines was made a ceremony of sorts.
Oh, they didn't put a commercial in there. Hold on.
It was an event put on for the cameras. 20,000 doses of Malawi's COVID-19 vaccine allocation laid out to be destroyed. The health minister personally led the exercise to send a message to the public who've been skeptical of the vaccines.
As soon as something expires, definitely we take it out. But we have already shown Malawians that we are committed to our policy. We cannot give Malawians any vaccine or indeed any medicine which is expired. We cannot do that. We have ethics, we have professionalism, so that cannot happen.
Malawi's health experts are also trying to assure the public of the vaccine's safety and efficacy.
The vaccine is very safe. It can be given to all people with all sorts of problems, except those that are below age.
Most countries on the continent have begun administering vaccines which have been delivered through the COVAX initiative. The exceptions are Burkina Faso, Chad, Tanzania, and Eritrea, where no vaccines have been approved. Now, most countries are using AstraZeneca, but still Africa has the lowest vaccination rate of any continent, with less than 1% of the population fully immunized. Now, to talk more about the vaccine rollout in Africa, we've invited Professor Christian Happy onto the program. He is a geneticist and the director of African Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases at Redeemers University in Southwest Nigeria. Welcome to DW News Africa, Professor Happy. Barely 1% of people in Africa are fully vaccinated. At this rate, when will the continent achieve mass immunization against COVID-19?
Thank you very much for inviting me onto the program. I mean, the question you're asking is a very important question. at this rate, when will we have a mass immunization on the continent? We don't know. I mean, because the African continent is very dependent on the external world. African continent is very dependent on the vaccines coming from India. India has a big problem at hand right now, and then they are diverting all the vaccine manufactured by the Serum Institute to solve their local problem. Unfortunately, Africa has no vaccine on their own, and then they have really managed, what they've done rather is they managed to bungle any effort to develop vaccine for the continent. And unfortunately, we're finding ourselves where we're very vulnerable and probably are going to be the only left in the wood when the rest of the world is out of the wood.
Professor, you rightly talked about India there. And the question must be asked, are we able to produce vaccines on the continent, and to what scale?
The answer is no. And the truth of the matter is that at the moment, Africa has zero ability to produce any vaccine. So, and as such, you know, we are very dependent on whatever anybody else out there will give us. We are dependent on what the United States will give us. We are dependent on what the European countries or through the AstraZeneca platform will give us. So we're very dependent on whatever people will have mercy on us and pity us. So, and really, it makes us look very, very vulnerable and very weak. And unfortunately, and then yet Africa has really managed very well in the first phase and in the second phase of this pandemic. But with the third wave coming on, and then with the Indian variant probably spreading over, and then the potential for breakthrough infection even after vaccination, we have really no ability to, to protect the largest number of people that would love to within the shortest time possible.
Professor, I do want to talk about a vaccine that you've developed, a DNA-based vaccine against COVID-19, which you say showed a 90% efficacy when tested on animals. Why have you not been able to secure funding to take your vaccine to human trials?
Simply because the African countries are not willing to invest where their mouth is. So they've refused completely to invest in developing and pushing this vaccine forward because it is a culture of begging and waiting for the rest to come to the rescue that is actually predominant here. And it is a shame that a continent of 1.3 billion people, they really not, has the ability, does not have the ability to develop a vaccine. And even when the African scientists develop that, there is no political will to move it forward. And that is a fact. I think between the Africans within the continent, in the academia, and those in the diaspora, I think those can come together and then, they could come together and develop a vaccine for Africa. But then the truth of the matter is our African leadership, or is African leadership ready to invest and then move those vaccines forward to clinical trials and then demonstrate that it can have some efficacy in order to save African population? The answer is no so far.
Professor, what do we need to do? You've talked about third waves on the continent. We are, of course, looking at the reality that the vaccines that we were dependent on in Africa, the AstraZeneca, because of the disruption in the Indian supply chain, what needs to be done, and who can we call upon to address the situation?
The Africans will have to continue to beg and cry as usual. We'll probably just have to call on those that are producing vaccine to give us whatever that they have left, after they have vaccinated their whole population. The truth of the matter is it's going to be very difficult for Pfizer or Moderna or AstraZeneca to actually produce the numbers that we want in the continent at the moment. So pending that time, we'll probably just have to sit down and start counting our debt. We are lucky that the pandemic is not ravaging in Africa. Otherwise, we would have actually been lining down the street. But fortunately, things are not as bad. But we hope, though, that that the African leadership will learn from here and then do the right thing, so that in the future we don't find ourselves in such a vulnerable situation.
All right, that's Professor Christian Habi talking to us from Nigeria. Thank you, Professor Habi.
All right. A lot of stuff going on with my computer. Man, did you hear that? We have to beg, plead, and cry as a continent. We're at the mercy of the European nations to give us a vaccine. That colonization is on a whole nother level. Now, we got friends and family that stay on the continent are millionaires, right? Millionaires. And she said, Do you know of any vaccines? Oh no, I don't know. We just need to. Then she called him out and say, "Hey, don't you got one that's 90% effective on animals? Why can't you take yours to trial?" Oh, then he threw the people, the brothers on the continent under the bus. Oh, ain't nobody got no money to back it. No, they ain't letting you put that out. If you got something different that ain't ran past them, if you got something more safe, more effective, which I doubt it might be, that they ain't ran past them. No, they ain't gonna let you do that. Oh, and then he said, you see that language? First wave, they cool, they under the radar. Second wave, they under the radar. Third wave, oh, we're gonna get hit. And then he said, we have not really been hit as a continent, but if we did get hit, so you playing these scenarios out in your mind. If we did get hit, we'd be vulnerable and we'd be at the mercy of the nations. You didn't get hit because it ain't. It's a. I ain't gonna get into that because they're gonna take this down. But it's a reason why you didn't get hit. I know I'm gonna get emails. I know I'm gonna get some people unsubscribe. I get it. It's a reason why you didn't get hit. Feel me? You got natural remedies. You got a lot of stuff going on the continent, man. You don't need poison. You don't need to be a lab rat. You really don't need to be a lab rat. But that whole Malawi burning down, and if you look at the map, I think I've got a video with the map. One of those countries that you can't, they can't come to the United States, Israel, and all that is Malawi. They straight burnt them. But she said they was expired. And when you put an expiration date on there, that means it's not as effective or not good. So she like, cool, open up the furnace, incinerate, let's burn them. They was hot, like, still take them. Why y'all throwing them away? Because it got an expiration date on there. Cats not lining up to take it, right? You want to jab the continent up, the continent fine, right? They was 1 in 25. We was 1 in 30 with all of this info, with all of this technology. I'm not 1 in 30, sorry, 1 in 20. How we 1 in 20 and they 1 in 5 with 1% inoculated out of 1.3 billion? Come on, people. Man, I caught it after I got it. After I took the jab, they injected you with the jab, with the stuff. That's how the jabs work. They inject you with a little bit of the stuff. That's how you caught it, because they gave it to you. Man, look here. We got family and friends that took it. We continue to pray for them. But I'm telling you, man, ain't no benevolency all of a sudden. Oh, Africa's gonna get hit so hard, and they just underdeveloped, and they don't have no medical research. Nah, there's people that just came out of nowhere and found out this new variant. They came out of nowhere. Why couldn't you start get you some billionaires and millionaires on the continent? Because they don't show us that on CNN and Fox News. I heard it's beautiful, and I heard it's some people over there that got paper. Right? Make our little rappers look like nothing. That's no shade on our little musicians and actors and actresses over here, little athletes. They say they got paper. All right, you get with a few of them, grassroots the thing. Or if you really want self-autonomy, man, we're gonna back you. We're gonna fly you in and let you use our labs or one of our makeshift labs, and you develop your joints. And if we had the technology, if they had the technology down in South Africa, to find and discover it. Ooh, they discovered it, right? Then use that lab to develop some stuff. Right? That's crazy. And then this is another thing that was kind of interesting. If you notice, he kept saying, I got his brain freeze. He kept saying India variant. the whole world saying African variant. Anything from Africa is just like, okay. But he kept saying India variant. That's kind of weird. But anyway, I got a few more videos. We're gonna get out of here. New York, they do what they want. Check this out.
Couple of minutes here. Governor Kathy Hochul just declared a state of emergency in New York. This is ahead of that new COVID variant of concern, which is centered around South Africa right now. Now, it's important to note at this point, it has not been found in New York, but the governor says it's coming. Now, experts say the reinfection risk is very high. So on Monday, the U.S. has announced it will restrict travel from 8.
All right, I had to show you that right there. See that Malawi? The ones who had a big burning medicine party, they wanted the countries that look, y'all ain't coming over here. But
8 African nations. Health officials say that the Omicron variant has 50 mutations, and there are some worries that it could escape immunity. A lot of questions still with this. Now, meanwhile, on Long Island, some of the 200 kids who participated in a clinical trial for the COVID vaccine are now fully vaccinated. Want to get out to News 4 as Greg's live in Comac with the latest on that. Greg.
Well, Natalie, really a strange day here at this Comac medical facility. As you said, families and doctors were celebrating the vaccine trials that Stony Brook held over the past few months. But it all happened as a new COVID concern was presenting itself. The Millers of Smithtown hoped that 10-year-old Jonathan's second vaccine dose today would ease their COVID concerns. But doctors here at Stony Brook Medicine are already focusing on yet another pandemic threat, a new COVID variant.
The concern is going to be, does the antibody you get from vaccination also prevent this new virus?
Dr. Sharon Nachman says it's still unclear if vaccines will work against this variant. The World Health Organization today labeled the variant a major concern.
We don't know a lot about the variant except that it is a great concern. It seems to spread rapidly.
President Biden has already ordered travel restrictions starting Monday for 8 African nations. The variant was first identified in South Africa, and cases have now been discovered in Europe and Asia.
As long as there's virus present in the communities, the variants are going to happen.
Infectious disease doctor Aisha Khan was also one proud mom today.
You did well. How are you feeling? Good.
Watching her 5-year-old get his second vaccine dose. Adam Hamidi is among 200 kids who took part in Stony Brook's clinical trials to determine vaccine safety for children.
If I could help other people, then less people would get sick.
Jonathan Miller was among a group who had received a placebo shot during the trials. Today, 3 of those placebo recipients got their final doses of the real vaccine.
Relief that we're almost done, that maybe it can be over.
Andrea Miller says her son and the others helped make history. Dad Michael Fisher believed in the trial so much, his 7-year-old Tucker and 3 other kids all took part.
Maybe one day they'll look back and realize how proud we are for what they've done.
Did you hear what they said? 2 minutes and 35 seconds into it. He said his son got a placebo. A placebo. A placebo. What is a placebo? Let's look at this real quick, y'all. A placebo. And why is it used? What is a placebo? Why is it used? Okay. Placebo is used in clinical trials to test the effectiveness of treatments and is most often used in drug studies. For instance, people in one group get the tested drug while others receive a fake drug or placebo. That's what a placebo is, a fake drug, right? That they think they're taking the real thing. What medications are placebos? There are 2 types of placebos, pure and inactive placebos, such as sugar pills or saline injections. Some people are not getting the jab. They're getting saline injections, impure or active placebos, such as prescribing an antibiotic for a viral infection or a vitamin, even though the patient does not need it. I told y'all, man. They are giving out placebos. Some is placebos, right? Everything is not the jab. Which this is why I think that's kind of I'm gonna delete some stuff in the back. I'm sorry. This is why I think that is kind of deceptive and jacked up. All right. So say for instance you really, really believe in it and you really want to keep your family safe. And I've seen cats walking around with their chest poked out. But I got the jab. Some wear the mask, some don't wear the mask, some whatever. Right? But let's say, for instance, you took the placebo. You're not covered, quote unquote covered. You're not quote unquote safe. You're not safe. So you can walk around spreading it or catching it or whatever, because they don't tell you who got the placebo or who got the real thing. But I'm gonna tell you what's either more deceptive. And this is what I really believe. A lot of the actors and actresses and the athletes that you see on there, if you get on there and say, I ain't taking it, then you got to influence to tell the others. But they could be like, look, man, we'll give you the jab in front of everybody, but we just give you a placebo. You think they're giving the world leaders who they want? Come on, man. That's insulting my intelligence. Now, Jesse Jackson might got the real thing. People like him, they're like, man, we tired of this nigga. Give him to him. You know what I mean? Jackie Robinson, and I ain't going to go into all that because I don't, I'm trying to use code words now so they don't take this show down. Man, but Harris and all of them, they're not going to get them people the real thing. Feel me? They're not going to get them people the real thing. And then, I don't know if they're giving military and police the real thing. You know what I'm saying? But they just want to see your allegiance. Like, look, we need a strong military force ASAP. That's one thing going to separate the haves from the have-nots. Is a strong military police, world police force, because the people outnumber these Luciferian satanic elite. And if they get wind of what's really going on, and it's greater than Democrat, Republican, and red and blue, and I like Trump, and Kamala's got on pearls and chucks, and if we get through all of that and see what's really going on, it's gonna be crazy. So let's say, look, we're gonna get us a strong military front because they know, crazy, right? And I know some people are gonna say it's a conspiracy theory and all that, but placebo, you heard it yourself. So some people think that's unethical, but let's watch this other little video. We're not gonna be on here long. Let me see. Share. This is cray. Placebo. And people just happy and laughing, and we're like, what's wrong with us, man? It's not cool. If I really want the jab, I believe in science. They told me to trust science. Trust these people so I could keep my family safe and keep everybody around me safe and live a long, happy life and get back to normal. And I say, roll my junks up, and you give me a placebo. Because they say it's a lot. You kind of don't be as with the mask and 6 feet and all that. Once you got your jab, you kind of walk around like, hey, I'm immune. And I said this last year. I said it's gonna be more than that one jab. It's gonna be more than the booster. It's gonna be more than all. It's gonna be more than that. But check out this video right here. Pretty interesting.
Charles and Lisa Wynn of Denver went skydiving. They took a leap of a different kind earlier this year when they volunteered for the Moderna vaccine clinical trial. As is common for trial participants, they don't know whether they got the real thing or a placebo.
That's dinner table conversation every night. When are we going to find out?
If they didn't receive the vaccine, the Wynns would like to get it now.
Wouldn't it be great to just get that phone call and hear,
I'm like, you've been vaccinated.
you've been vaccinated?
But it's not that simple. Placebo or dummy drugs, which often make up half the drugs administered in clinical trials, help scientists determine whether vaccines are safe and effective, work that often lasts several years. Only then are studies unblinded.
If the people running the trials believe at some point they have learned enough and they don't need to continue the trial anymore, then they should shut the trial down.
They're not at that point now, but the idea of injecting placebo patients with vaccines, now that 2 have been shown to be effective, has spurred a vigorous debate.
Okay, if mine was a placebo, will they tell me, because it's a 2-year study, so that I can get the actual vaccine when it comes available?
It was Nazi experiments on prisoners in World War II that led to the Nuremberg Code, which allows subjects to opt out of clinical research at any time. Some say it's unfair and unrealistic to deny placebo patients the COVID-19 vaccine.
There are going to be a lot of them in a groups that will have access to Pfizer or Moderna. I do believe that we should have the placebo group have that access as well.
And while those most at risk of a disease are typically included in clinical trials, they may be most helped by a vaccine.
The guardrails that we have around kind of the ethics of how we set up trials would say that it's just not ethical to enroll somebody who's super vulnerable into a trial when we know we have something today that can protect them.
But a number of vaccine experts say placebo-controlled trials that allow for extended patient study are critical, and bioethicist Dr. Matthew Winia agrees.
We ask people as volunteers to sign up for trials, not in the anticipation that they will get special favor later. I would go back to them and say, you are still doing very important work.
The Wynns are ready to roll up their sleeves again, assuming they haven't gotten the vaccine already.
I understand from a scientific reason why that may not be the way they want to do it, but as a layperson, I'd love it to be that way.
It's a tricky balance, public health and individual patient safety, that needs to be struck in this case. Hendrik Sabrandi, CGTN, Denver.
Wow, they found a happy-go-lucky Negro family, smiling ear to ear. I hope I really got it. Oh my. Anyway, I'm not on here to hurl insults. Oh man. Wow. Like I said, if you really believed in it and they turned around and be like, you ain't really covered, bro. You ain't really covered. Now, here's another question you might ask. All right, if I ain't really covered and I'm okay, if I ain't really covered and I'm okay, then why do I need it? I mean, that's why they keep it a secret. They say you blinded. I ain't no lab rat. I don't want to be blinded. Let me know what's up. Let me know what's up. All right. So some people are saying ethical considerations for unblinding the jab C-19 trial placebo patients. Right. So I'm gonna leave this article in there too. I'm gonna start getting putting all these articles in the Patreon. I must have been got a Patreon. The first 2 principles considered are non-maleficent, and autonomy. The blinded placebo group is at risk of C-19 due to 2 main factors: participant behavior changes and accelerated spread of morbidity of C-19. The first factor is related to non-maleficent, while the second invokes the principle of autonomy. All right, so they're basically saying like people act different, people act different, they move different when they think that they got it. You know what I'm saying? That will bring doubt and worry to you. Like, man, you'll be always thinking, am I gonna catch it? Do I really got it? It's just the action. Is that a thing of ethical? Is that ethical to lie to people? Is that ethical to tell them? I mean, I mean, they agree to it, but it say now you might get the real thing, you might not get the real thing, and that's the reason why it's something different in all three. Because if it wasn't something different in all three, you should be able to use the booster for all of them. You should be able to use the booster for all. Oh, can you mix this booster if you took that one? If it's all the same stuff but a different label, it shouldn't matter. That means it's something different. So it's a big old. It's an experiment to me, guys. It's my opinion, right? I'm right to my opinion. You send Moderna to this neighborhood, Pfizer over here to this neighborhood, and Johnson & Johnson over here, and see what happened. And then when outbreaks happen, they say over 39 things that can happen. When these different things happen, they say, no, it ain't because of you took the jab. You'll be worse off if you took it. These are not side effects from the jab, but they still writing it down and telling you something different. We got churches having jab shops. We go outside the four walls and we help the community and blah, 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 blah. Bro, you had a Miss Ella May, somebody, if your name really Ella May, I ain't talking to you, on the fence about taking it. And she trusts her bishop, whatever title he got, he probably had all of them at least once, because you get tired of one title, you get another one. Trust your bishop, your elder, your whatever, and you go take this junks, and you have a side effect that could even lead up to death. And you was on the fence. You weren't going to do it. You was operating out of wisdom at first. But he didn't talk you into it. She didn't talk you into it. It's terrible, man. It's terrible. It's terrible. So I want to show a few more videos and we're going to get out of here. This is a pre-recorded live, but I'm still going to be in the chat with it. Okay, so let's look at the South Africa. Then we're going to hear from Fauci himself to see what it is and how it is.
Some level of immune escape.
Multiple countries, including the UK, are immediately banning travel from South Africa and other countries in the area. Vaccinated travelers from there are currently allowed into the U.S. after the Biden administration rolled back foreign travel restrictions earlier this month. This all comes as another COVID winter wave may be on the horizon here. Daily infections are now rising by at least 10% in 35 states. Since last week, the average of new cases jumped by 18% nationwide, hospitalizations by 6%. Dr. Tanya Gergenroth works in the ER at UMass Memorial Medical Center. Massachusetts governor has ordered facilities with bed shortages to cancel elective procedures starting next week.
As a healthcare worker, really devastating to have to make people wait for so long to get care that they really do need.
In Long Island, New York, this ER temporarily closed due to a nursing staff shortage.
With hardly any notice, this was thrust upon us in our community.
The Northeast and the Midwest are seeing the biggest COVID spikes. The South, which saw surging caseloads this summer, is no longer the hotspot. So when will this end?
This is a pandemic still of the unvaccinated. At some point between people who are vaccinated and not vaccinated getting infected, we will acquire pretty much broad immunity to create a wall of defense.
This Thanksgiving did show some signs of normalcy, though. In a Chicago suburb, after nearly 2 years, 11-year-old Piper and 8-year-old Alexa are finally able to see and hug their grandparents. They even got to meet a new family member, Rosie.
And Gabe, as you just reported, a lot of Europe.
It's a pandemic of the unjabbed. You're going to hear that a lot in the news. It's a pandemic of the unjabbed. They are the ones that's keeping us unsafe. But if you took the jab, you should be good. You should be better off than me, than whoever did take the jab for the Omicron and all the rest of them. You should be better off. If you took your jab and your second one and your third one and your booster and all of this stuff, you should be cool for your neighbor. Omicron, like, I don't know. Omicron tougher than what you took. It is? Yeah. So you're going to have to take a fourth one, a third one, or whatever. Another one. Dang. That's jacked up. That is jacked up. But it's a program that goes on, and they got downloads. Sometimes you have to, you have to download one disc onto a hard drive, hardware, and to a computer, desktop. You got to insert other disc. You got to put the other disc in to finish the download or whatever. Yeah, you need multiple downloads, bro. Now we're gonna hear from Fauci himself, and then we're gonna get up out of here. But this is very, very interesting. Just listen to the language. Listen to the language, man. It's very, very interesting. It's 12 minutes, man. So if y'all got to cut out, we get it. But check it out.
Some calendar math here. The Delta variant was labeled a variant of concern in May. Obviously, it didn't really hit us until mid-July. And of course, we had a terrible surge there for about 2 months. Here we are post-November. So we were already experiencing a surge. Now we have this. Are we headed for a bleak winter?
Particularly now with the extraordinary increase in protection you get with the booster, even when you have variants of concern, you do well against them. It may not.
Hold on. I'm about to bring this back because my stuff start roaming and freezing. No, we're going to watch what he say. No.
So
good to be with you, Chuck.
I did some calendar math here. The Delta variant was labeled a variant of concern in May. Obviously, it didn't really hit us until mid-July. And of course, we had a terrible surge there for about 2 months. Here we are post-November. So we were already experiencing a surge. Now we have this. Are we headed for a bleak winter here, sir?
You know, Chuck, a lot of whether or not we're headed into a bleak or bleaker winter is really going to depend upon what we do. And I think what you're seeing is just the manifestation of what we've been talking about, why it is so important for people to get vaccinated and for those who are fully vaccinated to get boosted. Because even when you have variants like this, and there's a lot of unknowns about this variant, we know from experience that when you get a level of protection with vaccine, and particularly now with the extraordinary increase in protection you get with the booster, even when you have variants of concern, you do well against them. It may not be as good in protecting against initial infection, but it has a very important impact on diminishing the likelihood that you're going to get a severe outcome from it. So this is a clarion call, as far as I'm concerned, of saying, let's put aside all of these differences that we have and say, if you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you're fully vaccinated, get boosted and get the children vaccinated also. We now have time. Thank goodness that the South Africans are really extraordinarily good in what they did. They were completely transparent right from the beginning. We were on the phone getting real-time information from them. On Friday, we're going to be talking to them again today. So we have an advantage of this. We have an up on it. We know what's going on. We're getting more information in real time. When you diminish or stop or block travel from a particular country, there's a reason for that. It's to give you time to do things. So don't let this decision that was made about blocking the travel from certain countries go without a positive effect. And the positive effect is to get us better prepared, to rev up on the vaccination, to be really ready for something that may not actually be a big deal, but we want to make sure that we're prepared for the worst. And that's what we should be doing.
Okay, what is it about this variant that you've seen so far that has everybody so alarmed that the other variants that we've had in between Delta and this one, Delta alarmed folks, this one alarmed folks, Lambda and Mu, for instance, haven't. What makes Omicron so concerning to you?
Yeah.
The antioxidant goodness in every bottle of Palm Wonderful makes it a potent weapon against free radicals. Your antioxidant superpower committed to protecting you from unforeseen foes. And Palm is super wonderfully delicious. Palm Wonderful, the antioxidant superpower.
Well, right now, what we have is we have the window into the mutations that are in this new variant. And they are troublesome in the fact that there are about 32 or more variants in that very important spike protein of the virus, which is the business end of the virus. And there's about 10 or more of these mutations that are on that part of the virus. We call it the receptor binding domain that actually binds to the cells in your nasopharynx and in your lung. In other words, the profile of the mutation strongly suggests that it's going to have an advantage in transmissibility and that it might evade immune protection that you would get, for example, from a monoclonal antibody or from the convalescent serum after a person's been infected, and possibly even against some of the vaccine-induced antibodies. So it's not necessarily that that's going to happen, but it's a strong indication that we really need to be prepared for that. That, together with the fact that it just kind of exploded in the sense that when you look in South Africa, you were having a low level of infection. And then all of a sudden there was this big spike. And when the South Africans looked at it, they said, oh my goodness, this is a different virus than we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
So it clearly is giving indication that it has the capability of transmitting rapidly. That's the thing that's causing us now to be concerned, but also to put the pressure on ourselves now to do something about our preparation for this.
What is it about, what do you need to know to find out if our vaccines are working correctly, or if they need to be tweaked, or if the boosters need to be tweaked? We never tweaked the boosters for Delta. Do you expect us to do that for this one?
We're preparing to, but we might not have to. That is the critical question that you asked, Chuck. So
No, I had to pause it. My stuff started roaming again. I paused it. I don't care how long it would take for my internet to do what it needs to do. We not going to, no. So let me start playing it from right here.
if it looks like even at a high titer of antibody, it doesn't, then what you've got to do is you got to change and modify what the vaccine is going to be, which you can do pretty easily with the kinds of vaccines that we have. So the critical questions now are, do the antibodies block this well? And what is the seriousness of the disease? So there are enough people right now in South Africa that our South African colleagues are following to determine, is this highly transmissible but doesn't really give a severe disease? Or does it really give the same kind of severity that we've seen with Delta and other variants? All of these are gaps in our knowledge that we are all over and going to find them out pretty quickly.
So I got my booster 5 days ago, and now I'm wondering, did I get my booster too soon? And there's going to be a whole bunch of people out there that are thinking about their booster. I see you shaking your head, and I assumed you would, but I'd like you to clarify that, because there are going to be people who sit there and say, well, maybe I should wait till the booster's tweaked. What do you tell them?
No. If you are 6 months or more from the second dose of an mRNA, either the Pfizer or the Moderna, get boosted. If you're 2 months or more following the single dose of J&J, get boosted. Don't try to play mind games of saying, maybe I should wait a little bit longer. Get boosted now. The one thing we do know
Okay, family. I don't know what's going on with that. And I'm not going to keep getting it frozen or whatever. I will leave that video in the comment. It was 12 minutes long, and it was 7 minutes of 12 minutes. We had like 4 minutes left. So we just going to be done with it. We just going to be done with it. Subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell. We gotta let everybody know. We gotta, pray and talk to the Most High about this, man. People ain't gonna just be. I just believe they're not gonna become benevolent overnight. You can say conspiracy theories, wackos, aluminum tinfoil hat people. It's been proven how you've been moving. I like that. It rhymes. It's been proven how you've been moving. 1, 2, how Satan is the God of this world. 3, we are going someplace. We are moving. We're going to a place. We are going to a place. And they have to put things in place for us to transition and go to that place. Right? So we have to be prayed up, fasted up, focused on the Most High. Because we are going to a place. If you haven't seen the one about the petrochemicals and modern medicine, check it out. John D. Rockefeller is the father of modern medicine, and how he demonized all of the natural herbal remedies and made his petroleum-based coal tar products the main medication. Very, very interesting. Shout out to Truth Unedited for putting that together. And this is coming soon too. Modern Medicine Part 2. Nipsey, Nick, and CB. I want to make sure I put that together real good for y'all before I put that out. Nick, and CB. I went back and visited a few things and pulling some things together. And I might have a panel on that. If you're interested in coming on the panel, you got some information on Nipsey, Nick, and CB. Might put you on there. I got a few people in mind that might be interested in that. All right. If you haven't checked out my brother, Blacktastic, Yeshaya Ma'arab, right? Isaiah West, check it out. Very, very good. Very, very good. Also, the Berean Council, right? Not only Brother JT, but the whole Berean Council. It was powerful. I'm going to change that box because it's not just brother on there. It's the whole council. And also, Fred Hampton murdered by the FBI and CPD. It was some more insight and more information that was put in that story. So check it out, man. Subscribe, like, share. If you've been blessed, let others know. I'm trying to keep it under an hour. And so we're right up on the hour. And we are going to get out of here. But just know this. If y'all be for you, who can be against you? All right. Shalom, Israel. 1.
Perfect.